For you to become an art director in that short period of time, it means that you must have built up quite a good big clientele quite quickly.
I was late into it, so
Yeah.
I like done everything, you know, like I went and done the bard, you know, I went and done their art team courses.
Yeah.
I was going to every single thing I could. I was pushing myself. I was, you know, I started educating in the salon.
You get the call up to do Kim Kardashian's hair. How does it actually happen? Hey.
Hey, all right, mate.
Good, thank you. Good, mate. See, you got the cap on.
Yeah, well, bad hair days, isn't it?
That's like everyone right now. Everyone waiting to get into the shop for a haircut.
I should be watching all these tutorials showing how to cut my own hair and that.
Yeah, I know you love those.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get into it, if you don't know who Luke is, I'd highly recommend you jump onto his Instagram page afterwards. If you're not following him already, go follow it. He does amazing, beautiful hair. He's the creative director for SAKS. He's head of the art team. He's got a huge number of clients that he does at the moment for shoots and celebrities that he may not want to talk about, which we're going to talk about later. And he's actually a really, really cool guy, regular guy. And
I feel
if
like
anything,
this is your life. It's like mine.
yeah. Well, I tell you what, one thing I think that everyone's going to get out of this, that I think is going to be different from all the interviews that are going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks, is you actually need a filter. You ain't got a filter, mate. You haven't got it at all.
Oh, don't say that.
It's brilliant. This is what we want. We want people to have different opinions. Give us your opinion on stuff that I'm going to be going through. We're going to go through where you started to where you end up now. A couple of things on Instagram about building your profile that you've done. I think you've done quite well without even wanting to, and about little things about the industry later on. But first of all, I think what's really interesting about you, right? And I don't know if everyone knows this about you that works for you, but you actually obviously didn't start off in hairdressing. You started off in something completely different.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us what that was and how did you get into hairdressing?
Yeah. I was, what was I? I left school. I weren't very good at school and all that. So then, and I used to go and have my hair cut in Toni&Guy in Romford way back when I was like 15, 16. And, you know, just like the vibe, that was on a Saturday, so it was always busy and it just looked cool. It was all young people everywhere and you just think, oh, I wouldn't mind working here. Or I wouldn't mind working in this really. And then I left school, said to me, Dad, I think I want to be an hairdresser. And he was like, no, you don't want to be an hairdresser, you know, like kind of.
My dad said the same.
Yeah. It's like a standard thing. So he was like, I've got you a job. You go and be an apprentice or I'll get a trade behind you. So yeah, I became an air conditioning engineer. Yeah, and I hated it so much that it was, I hated it so much. I ended up, after my apprenticeship, and I've probably done it every year or 3 years, I left and I went travelling for a year and then came back and then I got into hairdressing. I think that's probably where we met, really, first of all, really.
Yeah. So we both jumped into the beginners course over at Toni&Guy together. We're part of a big class. It was a big time back then. Like a lot of people were trying to get in with Toni&Guy at the time. It was really at one of its peaks still, I would say. I know they're still around now, but I know back then it was kind of like, well, actually, this is what I was going to ask you. Why did you choose Toni&Guy? For me, I've got a bit of a background with it with my family and stuff, but it was like the place to go. And at the time, why did you choose it? Is that why?
I was at an age, I think I was, 23, I think. Yeah, 23. So, you know, like going to a salon and getting like, getting an apprenticeship at 23, they wouldn't take you on, I don't think. Even now, probably not, because they've got to pay you more money, all that rubbish. So it was like, it was probably impossible. And I wanted to do it. So it was like looking at courses. Can I do it quick? It ain't even quick, really. You know, it's a quick course, but that kind of thing, once you think you've done a course and then you're going to be some superstar hairdresser, you know, it don't work like that. Yeah. So, you know, it was just about getting my foot in the door, really. And I just knew them from like when I used to go and get my hair cut there. They had a good, I knew they had good foundations of like being, education and stuff. So yeah, that's where I felt, that's where I went. And I always, I know they get knocked in that, but for me, I wouldn't be doing now what I do if it weren't for them, without that.
Yeah, same. I mean, at the time when you first walked into the academy, you had this really cool hairstyle. It was kind of like, it was it's like Pete Bon Jovi upgraded to the 90s and then 2000s, and it was like choppy long, like a bit choppy hair. It was you and that other guy Scott, and you both had these really crazy hairstyles. So I was thinking this.
Do you know what I think it was? Yeah, it was that time, and I'll talk about it quite a lot. You know, like barbering's had a boom, innit? You know, like everyone wants to be a barber. Men's hair thing. It's like they've boom. There's barbers in every corner now. There's, you know, and I think when we perhaps were getting into hairdressing, that was the boom for hairdressing. You know, like they had the shows on TV. You probably, you know, you wanted to do it. You know, like, and there was, I mean, how many people were on that course? There's like 30 people on our course. You know, like that's a lot of people and a lot of money going through. You know, so for me, that's probably that's, I think it was, you know, that was it. It seemed like a cool job at the time to do.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, were you already into hair before you went into it? Because you had such a cool style. Were you into it so much anyway? Because I mean, you must have been if you're going to Toni and Guy and all that. Or did you just sit down and think,
you know what can I done it with my mate Scott. Me and my mate Scott. He got made redundant from some he worked at a pharmaceutical company. And we were like, what should we do? And what we done was, just to see if we liked it, we went to some 1 day a week night college thing to see if we even liked it. We didn't even pick a pair of scissors up. It was naff, really. But, you know, like, it was just to sort of see if we actually thought, is it a job that you like, or is it something you just like doing? And lucky for both of us, really. He's a barber now, but for me, like, yeah, it was something that I've done, loved, and then, yeah, that was it, really.
Well, for some of, like, the younger barbers now, because I know, like, I think it's way more popular now to go into barbering than it is now to go into hairdressing, for men especially, right? Men, the first thing they do, if I speak to a young guy now and I'm like, you want to get into hair? It's like, yeah, it's like, cool, there's a salon, and they're like, forget it. So I think people don't realize that at the time when we were about 2005-ish, so many guys were getting into hairdressing. You wouldn't go into barbering. It just wasn't what it is now. It was a bit, it's a bit like dirtier, is a bit, you know, a bit rougher, unrefined.
Yeah, I think
you just wouldn't do it.
Yeah. It was like, I don't know, you know, like it was like the £7 haircuts, you know, like you went there and you got axed off, I think, you know, like now, and like the boom now is, you know, like, and it's good. People have turned it into a proper industry. No, it weren't a proper industry, but it's more of a professional industry now, I think. And I mean, I don't really do men's, you know, I do the odd here and there, but not saying I do, but you know, you don't, and you have to go around to see how big it is. If you go to all the hair conventions and all that sort of stuff, it's taking over, you know, like it's massive, which is cool, you know, like it's a good thing for everyone.
Are you guys seeing a shortage now of people coming in from the bottom end into hairdressing? Or not really?
I think there will be, because obviously, you know, they're changing all the apprenticeship things, and you can't leave school until you're 18 or something, you know, like, so I think there's a big, there probably will be, I reckon there'll be a shortage, and then they've just changed the qualifications. You've got to do an endpoint assessment, which I think is a good thing. But, you know, like, and then employers, I think, I don't get me wrong, but I'm not too sure, but I think employers have to now contribute to their training, and if they fail the endpoint assessment, they have to pay another 900 quid. So, you know, like, I just think they're making it harder for people to take people on and then get them through, like, from a monetary point of view. So people will just, you know, and as well, when if you're leaving school at 18 now, 19, that means someone's got to pay more money to, you know, to an apprentice. So again, it's like, it's a bit of a, well, there's definitely a drop in people coming in the industry. And I know, you know, you only have to look about, there's loads of people trying to do stuff to drive people within the industry, but at the same time, I don't know, it's a tough slog, isn't it? You know, like, you know, I left that course and I went and I was 23 and I was an apprentice for a year, you know, like washing hair. I done it for a year at 23, and it's only because I love doing hairdressing. But if you don't love doing it, it's probably not a job you'd pick to do, like, really, because you can go and work in a supermarket and earn more money, and it's just a job, you know what I mean? If it's just a job, you've got to really love doing it, I think.
It's true. I mean, like, it's an interesting point, because you went in, you're saying at about 23, you're kind of doing an apprenticeship. I mean, nowadays, if you're 23, you're going to find it really hard to get in as an apprenticeship, because you're expensive. You're too expensive at that age.
I was so lucky that, you know, I got in the academy, and then you're meeting all these, you know, like good hairdressers. And I was lucky, Gary France, one of the art directors of Toni and Guy, he had a salon in Kensington, and he said to me at the end of the course, he said, do you want to, he took a punt on me, really. And I just done a year in the salon, done loads of more training, and then at 24 I became a stylist. So I was well late into it, really.
That's really interesting how you got into it, because I get a lot of messages now, people finishing private barbering colleges and stuff like that, and they need a job, right? They just get their MVQ, they need to get a job. How did you get that job with Gary? Like, did you say he contacted you, or did
No,
you
but he
approach
was.
him?
Yeah, we done like at the end. We done like a. Do you remember we done some sort of like show at the end, and he was there. He must have been
Yeah,
teaching for the
runway
day.
show.
And I kind
Yeah,
of, like, listen, you don't get any. I made a beeline. I knew where I probably wanted to go. I made a beeline. Got speaking to him. He said, "Yeah, come in for an interview." Like, and the thing is, he didn't have. Like, he don't have to do that. Like, it was just. I think more salons should do that in mine, but I get the monetary thing.
yeah,
I'd done a shit job. I'd then paid to go and do this course. Like, I had interest in the career. So for me, it was a no-brainer taking me on, because I'd proved that I wanted to do it. Like, where take a 16-year-old on, you're probably going through loads of them school
yeah,
leavers before you get
yeah.
one good one. Where I think if you took someone on that's a bit older, they've done the jobs they don't want to do, and now they're in. And I know, to be honest, I know a couple of people that have done it. I know an old prison guard. He's 24, and he got into it, and he left the prison service, and then come into hairdressing, and like, he was so keen, because he wanted to do it. He got his training done quicker. So again, there are benefits to, even though it costs you more money as a business, there are benefits in the long run for employing older people that want to do it as a career.
Well, how long did it take you from a stylist were you at Tony? Was it Kensington?
Yeah,
Toni&guy Kensington, Gary Francis shop. If you don't know who Gary Francis, he was a big name at the time as well. He was really, really good hairdresser. So it was a good place to get in. Yeah, at your age as well. I mean, so how long did it take you from a stylist to what did you get up to? Style director?
Yeah, I got up to the art director in the salon. Yeah.
Art director.
Yeah, art director. Yeah, I think I was there for, I don't know how many years. What? I was probably there for like 4 years. I thought 5 years, something like that. Yeah, I can't really remember.
That's quite even if it's 5 years, it's quite a short period to jump from stylist.
Yeah.
And to do that.
But like I said, I was late into it, so I like done everything. Like I went done the bard. I went and done their art team courses.
Yeah.
I was going to every single thing I could. I was pushing myself. I was, I started educating in the salon. So then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you just end up like chucking yourself. It was like my life, you know what I mean? So it was like totally, it was totally my life. So I put everything into it, because I knew the time, like if I'd have started at 18, I'd have had a bit more time. But I didn't really know where I wanted to go, to be honest. It was just saying I loved doing, at the time I loved doing clients in the salon. That was my thing that I loved doing. Now, if I had to go back to a salon full time and working, I probably wouldn't love it so much. You know what I mean? I've got a family now. I don't want to be working till 8 o'clock every night. I don't want to be working till 6:30 every Saturday. I don't want to be working every other Sunday. And I work loads now, and I do lots of traveling, but it's slightly different. It is slightly different.
You have to put in those hours when you can do it, like before you get to that stage that you're at. You have to do it, otherwise you won't get to where you are now, right?
Yeah. I suppose, yeah. And it's just you have to put in the hard shit. You got to do the shit to get the good stuff. Like good stuff just don't rock up on your doorstep. You know what I mean? And doing all this shit stuff, you meet people, you think this is a job worth doing, but you meet people in there, and then off of that come other things. So that's probably like, if anyone's getting into it now, listening, who wants to get into it, you got to put the hard yards in, really, and you got to be prepared to work hard. And that's like any job. It's not just hairdressing or barbering. It's any job, isn't it? You don't just get something because you turn up every day.
Yeah, one thing that I think that goes without saying is, for you to become an art director in that short period of time, it means that you must have built up quite a good, big clientele quite quickly. You must have had some sort of demand from your clients.
Yeah, I think, do you know what?
100%.
But again, I was in a salon that was, everyone in there was a good hairdresser, in my opinion. I'll even look back now and think they were all good hairdressers. And I think times were easier then, like I didn't feel like I had to do much to get a client. I know it sounds silly, but people just used to come in, and then before you know it, you're getting given clients. And I don't know if it's like that so much anymore. I'm not sure whether people are flooding in through the doors. I think times have changed, where with social media, you've probably got to work at getting clients through that avenue now. Where before, when I started, that weren't there. You just went to work, you had 8 clients, 10 clients a day booked in your column, and you just, grew it that way. And before you know it, 2 years down the line, you've probably got a proper full-time clientele that all
right, take us from, you got to get the client in your chair first, right? From getting the client in your chair, you got to retain it. right? You got to get them to
Yeah,
come
yeah,
back to you to want it. How
yeah.
did you get them to come back? Like, what are some tips? If you want to build a client base, you must have been doing something. Who was Luke back then in the salon?
Do you know what? I know it sounds really mad, yeah, but I
Yeah,
didn't even think of. I weren't even. Never did I think, and that's probably young, 24. You're not really like thinking about the business strategy on how you're going to keep. I never ever went in with this mindset thinking, how am I going to keep this client coming back to me? I didn't.
you
All I
just did
done
hair.
was I just done good hair, and if
Yeah,
they come back and they like me, they come back and like me. You know, like it was kind of. I remember it's really funny. I remember I passed out on you go through a big Barbering program with Toni&Guy, 6 weeks, and it's hard work and that. And you get back on the salon floor, and in my first
yeah.
review after that, I got called in and they was like, your retail is like really low. And I was like, I didn't know how to sell products, you know, like I just like doing it. Like
Yeah,
they're like, no, you have to like you've got to recommend products, not selling. It's recommended, whatever you want to call it. Recommended, selling, it's the same shit in my opinion.
yeah.
But I never really got it. I never, you know, like no one ever taught me about that. I just was into hair. And obviously I understand now, I'm older, I get, like, you know, you have to use products to get the results. But at the time, I just done hair, and if they liked it, they come back. I never really sat there thinking, is this woman going to come back to me? Or is this man going to come back to me? It just happened, you know, like, and I think if you're doing good hair, good colours, good fadings, whatever you want to do, people come back. Like, it's not hard. I don't think
Yeah.
it's rocket. So I think, do you know what it is? Sometimes I think business people have got involved in hairdressing and they make it so complicated that it is literally go to work, do all your clients, do very good hair, simple, people come back to you. You know, that is it. I don't think it's that complicated, really.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's kind of almost like it brushes on that saying, you know, if don't focus on the money, don't chase the money, and the money will come kind of thing. You weren't trying to focus on being over, you know, complicating things. Focus on doing good hair, doing what you love doing, getting a passion for it, doing it well, and it's going to come. Like, you're going to build those clients.
Like money was never an issue. Like, and that sounds really mad, but I don't think at 24 I weren't driven by money. Like, perhaps it's the wrong thing, really. I was like, I wanted to go out all the time. It was that kind of thing, and I just loved my job. So it was like, that was it. Love my job and going out every weekend and stuff. So that was all I had to focus on. You know, like I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have a family, you know, so when and a lot of people in our industry are that age, you know, so it's like, I don't know, monetary, I didn't think I'm going to become a millionaire. This is how I'm going to get there. I never thought that. It was just literally, go to work, have fun, do some good hair, go home, go out, you know, like pretty basic life, really.
Well, some of that principle must have worked, because you then jumped from becoming part of the art team in your shop, and then you go on to SAKS, right?
Yeah.
And
I just
creative
got
director straight away, or?
no. So I just
yeah.
I got a job to go. Yeah, I work on the SAKS art team from there, because that's where I wanted to go. You know, like I wanted to. At that time, teaching was my thing. Like that's what I wanted to go and do. So I was doing that. I was striving to get that at toni&guy, and then this opportunity came to go to SAKS, which is another big brand company, the more north based.
Huge.
And they're placed out in Covent Garden at the time. So I went and worked there in the art team, yeah, doing education. Like, again, like basically the courses that I've done, I was teaching, you know, like, so like teaching staff within SAKS, like staff, and then also they had private courses. So we was teaching private courses, yeah.
And then,
So I
so
kind of
you're
went full circle. I ended up doing what I started doing when I started, yeah.
Teaching private courses.
Yeah.
So now you're the creative director for SAKS. SAKS is huge. I mean, undeniably. I've even had a short stint at SAKS as well. Really good company, cool place. I actually think that what they do is quite good. They kind of focus on themselves rather than everyone else. They're a bit more unique like that. And you're now the creative director there. What does it entail for you? Because you don't do as much education anymore. You do different stuff, right?
Yeah. So for me, like, I've got like a team of people within the art team, SAKS, and so my role is just anything creative and education, i.e. staff and whoever wants to be taught by SAKS, really. That's my job. I look after all that. I take care of all that. But then also on the other side, I do the session side of things now, which is working with brands and stuff like that. So yeah, it's sort of gone like, it's sort of carved a different route out, really. I was in education quite big, and then now don't do that much of it anymore, really. I still do it, but I don't do as much as I did when I first started. It's probably like the brands and the session thing and the styling hair's become my thing, really, that I've gone into, yeah.
Just go and create images, do session work, beautiful hair.
Yeah. And as well, like, you know, like, how would I say it? Like, you know, like a lot of the stuff I do on my Instagram a lot of that is the free, like I'll get collective with makeup artists, photographers, and we just do creative stuff, because you don't get to do a lot of creative stuff when you're working with brands or when you're doing education, really. So
Gotta do what they want.
Yeah, so we get together, we do lots of shoots, and then off of that, brands pick you up. But, well, Instagram's massive now, isn't it? You know, I'm sure we'll get onto that. But yeah, that's the kind of, you know, brands pick you up and then they will ask you to do their hair. Even celebrities will message you and say, look, I love your work. But that all becomes from that creative work that I was doing that you're not getting paid. I don't get paid for that. We just do it as, again, I like doing hair. The makeup artist like doing makeup, and the photographer likes doing photography. The nail girl likes doing nails. So we all get together, and then off of that, you create a shoot, a collection together, and then off of that, people start booking you for jobs, really.
There is you brushed actually kind of almost half answering a couple of my questions. So, I mean, and what some people don't know is there's a lot of unpaid work when you get to, if you want to get that kind of work in, if anything. But so you brushed on it a little bit. So obviously you have done a few celebrities, and I know that because of your professionalism, you don't want to mention names, which we're not going to. One name that we are going to mention, which is probably one of the biggest names I think any hairdresser could get their hands on, literally. And I think we can mention it because it was popularized anyway, so we already know about it. So obviously it's Kim Kardashian, right? You get the call up to do Kim Kardashian's hair. How does it actually happen? Like, did someone call you? How did you know about it?
I'll tell you what, this is a true story. This is funny as. So I get an Instagram message off of some random person saying, hi, I'm Kim Kardashian, can you please call this number? And then left the name on the end, which was different to the name. And I was just like, that's a scam. Like,
the scam, it's a joke.
Yeah. So I ignored it for 2 days because I won't reply, and I thought I would just get scanned or someone's trying to break into my Instagram or whatever. I don't know why they would, but that's what happens. And then randomly, I get an email from the same woman. And then I messaged a couple of people that I knew had worked with their brand, you know, because they were saying it was a shoot for the brand that they're part of. And then I rung round a few people, and they were like, well, no, I've never heard of them. And then I rung the makeup artist up, Nikki, who I work with a lot. And I was like, listen, I'm meant to be doing a shoot, like, right, what the right, you know, rates and stuff. And she's like, you doing it as well? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, we're doing it tomorrow. And I was like, oh right, like. Yeah, so that was it. It was like quite a quick thing, but yeah, it was like, to be honest, it's just like I don't try and get too carried away with it all, you know. Like yeah, celebrities are great and they're cool, but they're easy come, easy go, you know. Like they you know. So I don't, you know, I try not to make too much of a song and dance about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's the correct way to be. I mean, some people that do flaunt it too much, and without permission, you're just not going to have it anymore, to be honest.
You know what, I mean, it's not even about, like, for me, like, yeah, you have to sign stuff and all that, and that's cool, like, but it's not even that. It's just like, you know, I don't know, it ain't my be-all and end-all, you know, like I don't set out thinking I want to do all these celebrities. It's just if they come, and you do them, and they go, you know, like. I wouldn't get too locked down in it. I think a lot of people get like, they try like, not, but I know some people that on a personal level, like they become friends with them, or, you know, like they're more be friends with them. And then when that work relationship is not no more, the friendship suffers, you know, like it's work, you know, like that is it for me. It's work, you know, like it's not, I'm not into all that kind of stuff, really.
You keep a distinction. So I'm guessing, actually, this is quite interesting, because after you do Kim Kardashian's hair, right? I mean, people are thinking, what is that like? Now, you went home after that, or was it for you, was it like, I did Kim Kardashian's hair, or was it like, yeah, I did Kim K's hair?
Like, do you know what? It was really weird, yeah? Because the look was not really like, it was like a crimp look that she wanted. And I was like, I come back, sitting on the train coming home, and I was like, oh, no, like, I've got this chance to do her hair and I've crimped it, you know, like, that could be devastating. You know,
I know what you mean, I know what you mean.
I don't really like crimped hair. I don't think it's like, it's not my thing, you know, like, So I was sitting on train, I'm thinking, oh no, I'm going to see paparazzi pictures of her tonight or tomorrow, and she'll have different hair because, you know, like she didn't like it or something. But to be honest, I was lucky, you know, like, yeah, I was lucky it all went well. But it was, no, I didn't really think too much of it. Again, you try not to get too, like, it is what it is, isn't it? You know, like.
Next day it's done and that's it, move on, right?
Yeah. I'm sure, you know, she was lovely, you know, like a really cool person, you know. But yeah, I just think, like, yeah, if it happens again, it happens again. If it don't, it don't. It's like, it's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, you did a video. It was like an interview with HJ, and you were talking about trends, right? Yeah. So I'll brush a couple of quick things about trends before we get to the end. So I think it's really interesting because, especially with you, right? Someone asks you a question, you don't look for like the cool thing to say. It's like it is what it is, which is, I agree with you. When people ask me sometimes, what's the latest trend? It's not like there's one trend anymore, and it's not because someone's made a trend. It's an outcome of what, because of the circumstances. And you also actually mention, and I want you to talk a bit about this actually, you mention you understand how trends do come about when you actually really understand the decades of fashion, which a lot of younger hairdressers or barbers don't really understand. So products influencing hair rather than the other way around, because we can do more with it, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about how trends come about, what you think?
Like, so for me, they're again, it's not, they're not something that I look into a lot. Like, you know, when I do shoots and stuff, we get together and we say, oh, let's do a 90s look. Like, I need to know what 90s hair was to be able to do that. So if I was an hairdresser and I'm talking to hairdressers, I would say, learn your decades and learn what hair was like in them decades, and that will open your mind up to loads of other things, you know, like. Because otherwise, what you can do is you can just keep coming. Like, it's really weird. Like, if I look at my Instagram thing now, there's lots of, like, I've done a thing for a load of big hair, and that just kept happening. And then now, recently, and without even realising it, because basically these shoots don't happen like yesterday, and then you get the images. You probably don't get them for like a couple of months. But then, so you're always like a couple of months behind. And then now, like I'm doing all these shoots that came back I'm getting back that I've done. All have like these spit curl things. So I must have gone through a thing where I like doing that, and because I'm getting lots of that on my page now. And I'm not saying that's a trend. I'm just saying it's like you just sort of, I don't know. The thing with trends is there's lots of people out there that love talking about them. Carry on talking about them. They make a living out of it, and that's cool. But no one holds them to account. Like, you know, is that, you know, you take Vogue, for instance. Every fashion week, they come up with 15 trends that are going to happen. No one ever looks back at 6 months later and says, did them 15 trends happen? Because, you know, like, one might have. No one holds them to account. So like I said, it's very easy to predict a trend, but it's actually very, very hard for it to come into realization. Plus, there's so many groups of people that what you're in, like what you might be into and what I might be into, might be two different things. You know, like, and the fashion might be two different things. I think I'm cool, you think you're cool. Everyone's got their own little trend going. So it's like, I just think it's people just like talking about it because they get paid to talk about it. You know, like, it's not really relevant. I don't really see, you know, I understand it, but it always comes back all 70s in, you know, like, okay, you know, like, well, let's do, you know, 70s there. It's not, you're not reinventing the wheel. You can't, it's just, it's always come round again, you know, like I think for me, like, something I've noticed when we was all working that was the jeans, women's jeans, are now getting baggier on the bottom. So, like, is it bell bottom jeans? I don't know, but they're like the 70s jeans, I think, you know, like I see a lot of them. Now that must be something that's going on because everyone's wearing them. So it's,
you see them on shoots and stuff now.
I mean, again, you know, so just in general, like even makeup artists, you know, like just people are wearing them. So that was saying I noticed, but is that a trend? It probably will be. I don't know. Or do you call that a trend, or is it just, I don't know, things going around and coming back again? So yeah, trends for me is just the talking point that people like to talk about, and do they come true? I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
Do you not think sometimes we get like a so-called trend because of something else that's happened? So now, like, we're in lockdown, we're going to grow our hair if we didn't shave it off. Like, everyone's going to have long hair for a little bit, maybe. And then people be like, oh yeah, there's a trend of long hair. It's not a trend. It's because of, you know, so back in the day, you know, you could,
like, this is a trend, isn't it? Everyone's doing these one-to-one live conversations like what we're doing. This is you could say that's a trend. It's through circumstances, which is what my talk was about. That they offer this. Every hairdresser is talking to one another or doing a live like what we're doing. Would we have been doing this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? Probably not. Like, so everyone's doing that. Everyone's, you know, hairdressers talking about, you know, that's a trend. Getting your clients to cut their own hair, like, and when you teaching them how to do it, that's a trend. That's, you know, you could say that's a trend. It ain't. It's just through circumstances that everyone's trying to find a different way of communicating and doing it because they ain't got nothing else to do apart from sit at home.
Yeah, something I wanted to get onto as well was your Instagram page. So your Instagram page, I think, actually, there's two questions in this. Just reminded me. Your Instagram page, when I go on it, I look at it and it's like it's beautiful hair. That's what I think, right? Is that first? The question is that a SAKS thing? Because I remember like when Andrew Barton was there, it was all about beautiful hair. His collections were always like that. And the second question to that is tips for people who are trying to build their Instagram account. Now we spoke about this really briefly, and I don't know if you want to brush on this. Is your pictures are there for a reason because you're trying to get the outcome that you're trying to get. Basically, you're not just putting pictures for the sake of putting pictures, getting followers. It's for a reason, right? And that's why it's become successful. So on those 2 points.
Okay, so 2 points I'd say is the first point is from a SAKS point of view. They're obviously a brand, and we've always gone down the line of we run campaigns. And if you look at our last, I don't know, 6 years, something like that. They're not been geared to hairdressers. They've always been geared to clients. So they're not trend led, you know, like they're just nice hair. They're more
wearable
lifestyle pictures, really.
Wearable.
Yeah, they're wearable because I remember years ago, and this is not a slate on anyone, when I was in Toni&Guy, my clients in Kensington wouldn't be nothing like what is on the pictures in the posters. Windows. You know, like they couldn't even. They wouldn't even cross paths. It was like, you know, so it was like, why are we I always found like, why are we putting them pictures in the windows? But they're geared to hairdressers, you know, like hairdressers look at them and love them, but clients don't. I never really got that. So obviously when I got the creative director job at SAKS, it was always like, let's just do nice hair. Don't have to be trend led. It just has to be clients. You know, we generally do one short one, one long one brunette, one blonde, so it covers all spectrums of people. And it's just about, we're not gearing people to go and I want that haircut. It's just an image that associates the brand, if you know what I mean. So it's just nice hair, and that I suppose then comes on to that's always been my thing, just doing beautiful hair. Really, I'm not into the kind of like Lego haircuts and that kind of helmet hair that I call it. You know, that's not my thing. That's good. It's good what other people are doing, but it's not my thing. So I think I sit with the brand quite well, if you know what I mean, from that point of view. And then my own Instagram, like I don't do it for, like, if I do it for my job, you know, like as in I do it because a lot of people ask me, why don't you do just normal people's hair? Why all your pictures models? And you're like, when you're trying to, like, who am I trying to appeal my Instagram to? It's not.
That's it.
It's not like I don't do clients, you know, like, so it's not. I'm not trying to get Janice from Upminster, where I live, who's 55, to come and me to cut her hair. So I'm not appealing to Janice. I'm trying to appeal to a brand that's going to look at my work and go, do you know what? We'd like him to shoot our campaign, or we, you know, to do the hair for the campaign, or for instance, you know, like people like celebrities look at your work and think, I'd like him to do my hair. So they, you know, that's where I'm at. I mean, I wouldn't do Instagram if it wasn't for my job. It's work related, you know. Like, I don't put myself on there a lot. I don't think, because I don't think, you know, it's not saying I want to do. I'm not that way inclined. I want to spend my life spewing my life out on Instagram. So for me, it's just work related and knowing who you appeal to. I'm sure yours, like, you know, from a barber's point of view. You know, if I was a barber, I wouldn't be putting up. I do women's hair as well. I wouldn't be putting women up on. You know, like it's you know, that's it. It's a business thing, really, and people just like looking at it, and that's it. It's like
it's quite interesting because, like, if you go back, right, to what we talked about before, you got clients when you was with Gary, right? You got a big client list. You're doing well, and you kind of did it without focusing on getting clients. You weren't chasing the money, and it kind of came in. You weren't chasing the clients, came in. you kind of like, you got a really healthy following account on your Instagram. You don't even try, right? It's because that's the outcome of you.
Yeah, I mean, you do, I suppose, you know,
you weren't chasing the followers specifically, right? You're chasing doing your profile.
Like, listen, I've been lucky. I work with good people that have built along that way. You know, like I work with a girl called Nikki Makeup, who's like, she's one of the best makeup, and probably the best makeup, in my opinion, the best makeup artist. You know, so she got over 1 million followers. So when she
shout out to Nikki.
Shout out to Nikki. So when she posts, you know, like when she posts, I get shitloads of followers off of that. You know what I mean? And it's like, because and it opens it up. Like my Instagram probably a year and a half ago, I probably had about 5,000 followers. You know, like, so it does come from, and this is what again I'd always say to people, is get in with good people and good stuff happens. You know, like I have no qualms with saying it. If I'd not met Nikki 3 years ago, I probably wouldn't have done half the jobs that I'm doing now. You know, because you get tied in with working with people, you do good work. You know, like. It all comes, you get in with good photographers, then you meet good photographers, and then you start, and it sort of grows through that, really. So it is our work, though. You know, like I don't do a lot, as in, but what I do a lot of, I do a lot of shoots and get good images, I think, and then you put them up, you know, like, but I don't do a lot of like stories and stuff, and I should do, really. Like,
you should do, yeah.
You know, like, you should
we want to see more of it.
Yeah, I always think like, who bothered about what I'm doing? You know, like this is my old attitude, and I'm 38, yeah, so I come from the oldest. This weren't around, so I've kind of had to learn it. I just think, who's interested in what I'm doing or what I'm saying? Like,
people want content, they want, and you know,
but then it's like, are we, you know, like, and now I think, you know, where we're at a minute, I think that overflow of content, you know, like it's like, I don't know, spewing content out at everyone just for like doing it. You know, like I'm just going to talk about whatever now. You know, I'm not saying what we're doing now, but you know, like feel like I can't do hair, and I normally put out a hair. So what am I going to do now on my social media? Just have a day off.
Have a day off. Well, we'll get onto that. What do you think about all the barbers now putting on, or hairdressers? Because I see the barber side more, but you can see the hair stuff. They're putting up videos now of like how to cut your hair at home. Let me show you how to cut your hair. I shaved my hair. Let me video it, because I'll probably do one soon. But what do you think, honestly? Like, is it a good thing for us, for industry?
I'm torn because I just don't get it. Like, I just think, from one point of view, I don't get it, because I just think, like, why do you need to go and teach someone how to cut their own fringe? Like, one, what are you getting out of it? As in me personally, no money. I'm teaching my own client probably how to cut her fringe. Like, she's gonna fuck it up probably, ain't gonna look great, and then she's gonna come back to me anyway when this is all over, and I'm gonna cut her fringe. So I told
you guys at the beginning, no filter. So go.
Oh yeah, like, so I just think, like, why are you bothering? I just think, again, just have a day off. Just say, like, where everyone's at home. Like, I don't get are we at home? This is what I think, and I don't know because I'm not a woman, but are women getting ready at home? Like, are they getting up, getting ready, doing all their hair, looking fabulous to sit at home all day? Like, is that happening? Because I just don't believe, because I know full well, I'd get up and just about brush my teeth, let alone... I do brush my teeth, that's a fact. But, you know, like, you just pretty slouch around, and I don't know, or perhaps I'm
most days practically, yeah, people, yeah,
you know, like in reality, like, yeah, let's all get up and do Joe Wicks every 9 o'clock every morning. Let's have a shower, let's get ready, let's do our hair. Like, in reality, this is it's the Instagram world, in my opinion, that's talking that. It's like, and I understand, you know, from a journalist point of view, that's all they got to write about. So they have to write a load of shite, in my opinion, now. Like, you know, like, wash your hair in beer if it's greasy. That was one I heard the other day. You know, like, what, we all running out of shampoo? Like,
it's yeah.
It's nonsense. Like, it's nonsense. But, you know, like, I just think, so I'm kind of like, but then I think, well, if you want to do that, if you want to teach your own person how to cut a fringe, crack on. Like, do whatever you feel's right for you. For me, I don't get the point.
I think because I know I'm a bit pushed. We're a bit pushed for time now. A couple of questions I want to quickly just jump in at the end. Self-employed hairdressers. What do you think that does to the industry? And is it better if we get more people going on self-employed or more through the payroll, PAYE, employed people? What do you think it means for the industry? And yeah, is it good or bad?
I think it's good, and I think it's good and bad. I suppose that's
And what do they do at
that's
SAKS?
sitting on the fence, I suppose. But I'd say from an individual point of view, I don't need to sit here and tell people I'm not self-employed, but I know lots of people that are. What's the benefits of that? You can do what you like. You can pick your own time to work, and you probably might make a little bit more money, and you got your own time. But and then at the other point of it, if you look from the industry point of view, they're saying 65% of hairdressers, I don't know what it is in barbering, but 65% of hairdressers are all self-employed now. Like, who's training the
Wow.
next generation of hairdressers? Are they 65% of them people putting back into the industry? And they'll say, well, I don't need to because I'm self-employed. And that's cool. Like, again, no problem with that. But if everyone went self-employed, how's the next generation of hairdressers going to get out? Or who's training them? Who's doing it? And now I'm sure there'll be people say, I'll run self-employed and I'll train someone. That's cool. But I just think that's probably a downside to it, is that, being it says it in the name, doesn't it? Self-employed. That means you work for yourself. You're probably not that you're not that bothered about anyone else, really. And
So
I don't blame anyone, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. So
do you think if you got a shop of people that are all self-employed, do you think you as the owner aren't going to bother so much with teaching them, like, overall, because they're self-employed, and essentially?
Well, there's loads of problems, isn't it? Because they're not. I don't know the ins and outs, but there's loads of things like they're not meant to do training. There's loads of. I know that's like. I'm sure they all do, but like they're not meant to do certain things because they're self-employed. And again, I've not worked in this. I don't know too much about it. This is just my opinion, but it works for some people and it don't work for other people. From an industry point of view, I'm not sure how great it will be, as in the long run for hairdressers. But that might be a cool thing. Less hairdressers coming in, the more work there'll be for the rest of us that are hairdressers. Like we had that. Like I'll talk about it now. That like when we started doing hairdressing, there was a boom thing in hairdressing. Hairdressing was everywhere. There was shops opening everywhere, and then the recession hit, and then it all sort of slumped a bit. But they're probably barbering is the thing that is the boom. It's booming at the minute. You go on every high street, there's 3 or 4 barbers turning up. Every other shop's a barber shop. So I think your industry, your barber, your bit is probably the boom time at the minute. And hairdressing's gone at the boom time. And now we're not getting so many people involved in it. So probably in about 4 or 5 years' time, I reckon hairdressing will be flying again, because there won't be as many people. There will probably, especially after all this, we might lose some shops. Like it's hard to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's inevitable. I think you're right. I think we're going to see a change. 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a change again, go back to what it was.
Our industry's weird. Like I think our industry's weird because it doesn't offer you any. Like from a big brand point of view, like from SAKS, you can perhaps have a bit of a career path. Like you'll go into this. You can go into a bit of management. You can go into. There's a bit of a career path. You can go into the art team. There ain't a massive. It's not. There are some options where when you're working. If just for a small independent, what is it once you get to the top, where do you go? Like it's only open a salon really, or just stay where you are. So then everyone just ends up opening salons. So then it's like there's more and more salons opening up, and then before you know it, everyone just owns their own salon, and then that's where I think now. That's probably where you speak to most people. They're not interested in opening their own salon. They're just interested about getting self-employed, and just.
You do see that a lot more. Yeah, I've seen it.
That's just the way it's gone, and I don't know. Will it come full circle? It might do, especially now, because of this, with this furlough stuff and all that. Being employed. I don't know, but will that come back round? Who knows? Everything comes back round and goes, and then. Yeah.
If you're around it long enough, you see it comes round. I'm gonna wrap up now as well. So one last question, I'm sure your viewers are gonna want to know as well when they watch back the video. What is Luke up to now? He's in lockdown. What are you doing? Keeping busy?
I've been laying the floor in me. I've been having days off.
Nice, right?
No, So we at SAKS we've got like a stylist page like, on Facebook that we obviously, because all our staff are furloughed, so no one's working. So I do some live. I think I do 2 or 3 live, whether it's styling hair, cutting hair for them, and then
2 or 3 a week.
2 a week, yeah, 2 a week, yeah, for them, and that's off of
That's
just
brilliant.
Yeah, that's just, you know, like film, like, you know, just do a bit of filming really, and that's it. Just to keep people like engaged with it, really. That, you know, and if they want to watch it, they don't have to. So it's just to keep them feeling part of something still, because I think that's an important thing. You know, like you're sitting at home, you don't feel part. Sometimes, you know, that people don't feel like they're part of anything, do they? So I think it's quite nice to see other faces, comments happening, and staying in touch with one another. Perhaps that they, you know. So yeah, and that's it really. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not really like. I'll get back to work when they get back to work. Like I say, I've not got any things of getting on TV and doing, you know, telling people to colour their own hair and that. You know, but,
we'll get back to. Don't worry, soon. We'll get back soon. Enjoy the time off.
To be honest,
Enjoy it. That's what I say.
You know, like, I think it's quite a good thing. My work, all I've done was work. You know, like for, you know, so it sort of brings you back to, like, actually, like
reset.
Yeah, it's like, is work everything? Like, because that's the thing for me. Like, work is everything. You know, like, and then you really, after this, you think, look, is it that, like? We ain't got that much of an important job because we're not doing it, are we? You know, like.
Now we know who the real important, what the real important jobs are.
Real people are,
yeah. Right, I'm gonna wrap up there, Luke. Right, thank you so much, man. Thank you for the video. No, it's a pleasure. I'm gonna upload it soon at some point. I know I've got a few people that want to watch this. You've given us some really good insight. I appreciate it a lot. And guys, for those watching, we're gonna try and get another one up next week as well. We've got another fantastic guest like today. Honestly, I'm not gonna reveal who it is yet because it's gonna be amazing. But keep an eye out. Showing us your flaw. Keep an eye out on what's coming on. Like I said, if you haven't already, go over to Luke's page, Luke Pluckrose. Follow his page. It is beautiful hair, especially if you're not a hairdresser watching this, or you watch this later. If you want a bit of inspiration how to wear your hair, I think on a night out as well, go look at some images over there. I actually think they're wearable.
And also, you will see me doing a tutorial how to lay a solid oak floor.
Right, watch out, everyone watch it, right?
Watch this space, yeah.
Cheers, Luke. Thank you very much. Don't forget also follow House of Thricks if you're not already too. And we'll see you soon.
Later on.